A peaceful night's sleep abruptly shattered by an otherworldly presence. You're abruptly awake, your heart pounding against your chest like a desperate prisoner against his cell bars. A peculiar light floods your bedroom, casting eerie shadows across the room. The air is heavy with an unknown dread. The nightmare has just begun. The cosmos, vast and inscrutable, teems with mysteries that boggle our human minds. Life beyond Earth is not just a possibility, it's a probability. In the infinite expanse of the universe, it is statistically likely that other forms of life exist. But what if these extraterrestrial beings aren't just curious observers? What if they have a more sinister interest in us? Imagine, if you will, being snatched from the comforts of your home, pulled into a craft that defies the laws of physics as we know them. You're not alone. All around, others share your fate, their faces twisted masks of terror. You're in an alien spacecraft, an unwilling subject in a chilling experiment. Stories of alien abductions and sinister experiments are not new. They've haunted our collective imaginations, inspired countless horror movies, and filled the pages of science fiction novels. These tales often involve disturbing medical examinations and probing, suggesting a grim fascination with our anatomy. The sterile cold halls of the extraterrestrial laboratory echo with the screams of its human subjects, a disturbing symphony of horror. In this narrative, our homes are no longer our sanctuaries. They become hunting grounds for beings beyond our understanding, our bodies the subjects of their morbid curiosity. We are thrust into the role of lab rats, subjected to tests that defy our comprehension, with no promise of survival or escape. In this chilling narrative, our homes become a hunting ground, our bodies the subject of alien curiosity. The nightmare has begun and the question remains, if aliens do exist, how will they treat us? But what if the alien threat isn't physical but psychological? Imagine a world where our minds are no longer private sanctuaries but open playgrounds for extraterrestrial beings. We're not talking about physical invasions or violent confrontations. Instead, we're delving into the realm of psychological manipulation, a horror that could be even more terrifying than any physical threat. Consider this: aliens possessing the ability to infiltrate our minds, inducing nightmarish visions, or manipulating our thoughts. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? There would be no hiding, no running away. Our minds would become the perfect conduit for these beings to exert their influence, turning our own thoughts against us. In this scenario, we're not dealing with a malevolent force that comes to us with guns blazing. Instead, we're faced with an enemy that is subtle, insidious, and frighteningly intimate. They could be anywhere, at any time, silently invading our consciousness, turning our dreams into nightmares, our hopes into despair. The psychological horror of falling prey to such a force is almost unimaginable. Our deepest fears, our darkest insecurities, could be used against us. We could be made to see things, to believe things that aren't real. We could be driven to the brink of madness, with no one able to tell whether we're victims of an alien invasion or simply losing our minds. And what makes this scenario even more terrifying is the uncertainty. Who could we trust when we can't even trust our own minds? How could we fight an enemy that knows our every thought, our every fear? This is a war unlike any other. There are no battlefields, no armies, no weapons. It's a war fought in the shadows of our minds, where the enemy is unseen, unknown, and unrelenting. And so, while we often imagine extraterrestrial threats as physical invasions or violent confrontations, we must not forget the potential for psychological warfare. In this scenario, our own minds become the battlefield, our sanity, the prize. Now brace yourself for a scenario ripped straight from the pages of science fiction. Picture this: extraterrestrial beings, not just mere observers curious about our way of life, but ruthless invaders with a single-minded goal: conquest. The thirst for dominion fuels their interstellar voyage, and their destination? Our home, Earth. These invaders aren't here to make friends or exchange pleasantries. They don't care for peace treaties or diplomatic solutions. They're here for one purpose and one purpose alone: to dominate and annihilate. In their eyes, we're not fellow beings worthy of respect or empathy. We're obstacles, mere impediments to their grand ambitions. As their sleek, menacing spacecrafts darken our skies, our world transforms into a battleground. Imagine the chaos, the terror that grips humanity as our cities crumble under the might of their advanced weaponry. Structures that once stood as testaments to human progress reduced to smoldering ruins. The hustle and bustle of life as we know it replaced by the eerie silence of a world on the brink, punctuated only by the distant echoes of war. Yet in the face of annihilation, the human spirit endures. The survivors, haunted by the horror of this intergalactic war, refuse to bow down. Amidst the rubble and ruins, hope flickers like a stubborn flame, refusing to be extinguished. The fight for survival becomes not just a battle against the invaders, but a testament to our resilience, our will to endure in the face of insurmountable odds. But what of the outcome? Who emerges victorious from this clash of civilizations? Is humanity's tenacity enough to withstand the onslaught of a technologically superior foe? Or do we fall, our civilization, becoming nothing more than a footnote in the annals of the invaders' conquests? In this grim story, our world becomes a war zone, our survival, uncertain. But what if the enemy isn't from the stars, but from within us? A question that sends a shiver down our spines as we delve into a chilling concept. Imagine, if you will, extraterrestrials so cunning, so adept at mimicry, they infiltrate our society by assuming our forms. A true horror story, isn't it? These extraterrestrials wouldn't arrive with a bang or a flashy light show. No, they would slip into our lives subtly, almost imperceptibly, donning the cloak of familiarity. They could be your neighbor, your colleague, your best friend, or even a family member. The person you trust the most could be a disguised alien entity, plotting our downfall from within. This isn't just about physical deception. These beings could perfectly mimic our behaviors, our mannerisms, even our thoughts. They'd know our strengths, our weaknesses, our secrets. They'd blend in so well we wouldn't suspect a thing until it's too late. In this scenario, our homes become battlegrounds, our communities, the front lines. Our mundane lives would be replaced with a constant struggle for survival, where every face could be a mask, every word a lie. The once comforting presence of loved ones would be replaced with the fear of betrayal, the paranoia of the unknown. This would be a war of a different kind. A war not fought with weapons of mass destruction, but with deception and treachery. A war where the enemy isn't across the battlefield, but sitting across the dinner table. The horror lies not in the invasion, but in the uncertainty, the constant questioning. Is the person next to me truly who they claim to be? In this terrifying scenario, trust becomes a luxury, suspicion a necessity. The enemy isn't coming from the stars. The enemy is already here, within us, wearing our faces, living our lives, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And the most terrifying part, we might never know until it's too late. In this terrifying scenario, trust becomes a luxury, suspicion a necessity. Lastly, consider a horror that's not based on malice, but indifference. Picture a universe populated by beings so advanced, so utterly beyond us, that they view humanity as inconsequential. Like insects to a giant, our lives, our struggles, our triumphs, all reduced to mere footnotes in the cosmic narrative. These extraterrestrial entities exist on a scale so vast, so incomprehensible that their mere presence triggers cataclysmic events. Asteroids divert from their paths, black holes form in the blink of an eye, and entire galaxies collide, all due to the whim of these cosmic beings. The horror here isn't born from ill intent, but from a cold, indifferent disregard for our existence. We're left to grapple with an existential dread, the realization that we're not the center of the universe, but mere specks adrift in the cosmic ocean.